A U.S. soldier injured earlier this year on the Gaza Pier dies. So this is really something here. A U.S. Army soldier who was injured earlier this year while working on the U.S.-constructed temporary pier off Gaza has died due to his wounds, and this was first reported by CNN. Sergeant Quandarius Davon Stanley, 23, only 23 years old, was one of 3 U.S. soldiers injured while working on the pier in May. So this was back in May when he was hurt. At the time, the Pentagon said that 2 suffered very minor injuries while the other was hurt severely enough to be evacuated for medical care. I remember when this happened. I wrote a story on it. And the Pentagon insisted the injuries were non-combat related, but they did not share any details about this incident. So it's unclear what kind of injuries Stanley suffered, but he was medically retired from the Army since he could no longer perform his job. The U.S. Army told CNN that Stanley died on October 31st. An Army spokesman said, quote, Stanley was injured while supporting the mission that delivered humanitarian aid to Gaza in May 2024 and was receiving treatment in long-term care medical center, end quote. So the Gaza Pier failed. I mean, this thing was just a total, talk about PR stunts. That's what this was. It failed to bring any relief to the Palestinians and only operated for about 20 days. It was repeatedly knocked out by weather since it was unable to handle the conditions in the eastern Mediterranean. When President Biden ordered the construction of the pier during his State of the Union address back in March, aid groups dismissed it as a PR stunt since it would have been far more efficient. I mean, incredibly more efficient if you look at the numbers, to send more aid trucks through land crossings, but Biden refused to put any pressure on Israel to do that. And then there was a report from the USAID's Inspector General that said Biden ordered the construction of this pier, even though USAID officials were warning that if you build this pier, this is going to undermine efforts to pressure Israel to let in more aid. Basically, the pier wasn't going to lead to more aid into Gaza. If anything, it was going to lead to less aid going into Gaza. And the report also said that the Pentagon was aware that operating the pier in the eastern Mediterranean would have been difficult since the sea conditions were often heavier than what it could handle. I mean, it couldn't handle waves more than like 2 or 3 feet and winds more than 15 miles per hour, which for the eastern Mediterranean, 15 mile per hour winds, not very high. And the pier cost U.S. taxpayers at least $230 million. And at one point, it was broken apart by waves and had to be repaired for $22 million. And it also cost an American life on this, again, just total PR stunt to make it look like the U.S. was doing something to help the Palestinians, when in reality, they're doing everything to help kill them. All right, so the next one here, I kept up the interview with Dr. Sidhwa. I'm just trying to get a lot of eyes on it because I think it's very important. So please go watch that if you haven't yet.